Thank you for joining me today. This is Deborah, Stitching Granny of 17. This is floss tube number 20. This is June the 17th. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Don't forget to hit subscribe. And if you want to know when I have a new video up, don't forget to hit the bell. This doesn't cost anyone anything to do that. It just lets you know that in your feed that it's going to come up. The subscriptions don't cost the viewers anything. You just click on it so that you can see it in the future, whether weekly, whenever you come back to YouTube. You can go under your subscriptions and it'll pull up everyone that you had subscribed to, and you can go and view their videos. We have a lot to talk about today. I got to do a little bit more than I thought I would this week, so some appointments got changed around. I want to start off the video because I want to show you about last Friday. Remember, we had our wedding reception shower for my son and his wife, so I'm going to insert the video right here. So, that video was kind of funny, wasn't it? Yeah. My son's a crack up and Kelly's right there with him. We saw them last Sunday. We went by their house, and I wish I would have got a video then, because my son and Kelly and the kids were playing outside with water balloons, and my son had bought these real big water guns and kind of told a fib to his children that they were for his sister's children, until after my daughter left and he went and pulled the guns out and filled them up, and Kelly and him snuck outside and blasted them. Well, the oldest child, Caleb, he'll be 15 in October, he took the 5-gallon bucket, because there was 3 of them, filled with water for the water balloons, and took the bucket and just splashed Kelly. She was drenched, and she's like, oh well. So then she got a couple of more buckets poured on her. She is a trooper. They match up so well. That was so funny. I wish I would have got that video. I wanted to give a couple of shout outs. One of them is Shannon Christine Designs. She has her very first floss tube out. She's got some beautiful designs in her online store, which when you go to her floss tube, and I'll enter her in the description below, it'll give a link of how to get to her website to check out her designs. I faintly saw her last year. The name didn't register, and I forgot all about her until I saw that she came up on FlossTube, and then I saw her designs. She does some of the chalkboard designs, but they are dimensional. They're beautiful. And then I wanted to give a shout out because they've got one floss tube out. It's called Running with Scissors with Jane and Julie. And I'll enter a link in the description below so you can go check out their first floss tube. All right, let's get on to the winners. And I'm going to insert what they wrote. The first winner is for saying stitching, and that was Quilter and Cross Stitcher. And then for the quilting, it's Debbie White. So if the 2 winners will email me, I will forward it on to Darlene Dion Designs. Okay, thank y'all so much for entering the giveaway. And don't forget, in just a few more weeks, we're going to have another giveaway for cross stitching, because our new designer coming up is Chrissy, and she's finally a farm girl. But let's get back to our featured designer, Darlene Dion Designs. And she has both cross stitch and quilting. And I'm going to enter some pictures so you can see some of the things that she does. She just released a new quilting design. So go check out Darlene Dion Designs on Etsy. And here's the first one that I did. And this one I actually won from her. And I'll insert the picture of the pattern cover so you can see it. But I turned this into a quilted wall hanging, and there it has the bee little hanger that I picked up. And then the next one I did was I'll insert the picture of this one because I cannot remember the name of it. But I chose to do my own colors and do it in red, white, and blue. And I finished this one into a pillow. And here's the back of the pillow. And it's got a zipper, so I can change it out seasonally. So it's just a little pillow form that I had made. So I think her designs are really cute. And then last week I showed you one that I had finished. Well, this week I fully finished it. And here's what I did. And it's on a little teeny quilty stand that I put it in my kitchen. And I did this one. I did the binding in the same fabric. And since I put purple in the flowers and then on the door, because our church, our color is purple and we actually have purple doors. So that's how I finished that. Thank you, Darlene, so much for giving the prizes for the winners today. I appreciate it so much. You become such a dear friend. You live so far away, but I feel like you're right next door. Okay, getting on to our next featured designer, Chrissy, finally a farm girl. I went ahead and did one of her designs. I'll insert the picture so you can see what the design is because I changed it. And when I saw this design, I saw it as a stand-up. So I made my very first stand-up. And this is Abe, of course. And she had a little mouse, and then the USA was over here. And I saw him kind of standing on a pedestal. And he's holding the flag along with the bald eagle. And I did change him up some. I used a mixture of 2 threads for his beard, a gray and a black. And this one was done on 22 count, but I used 4 threads and stitched over 2 holes. And that's what I have on the back. I looked at Vanna Pfeiffer, and I'll insert her in the description below so you can find her. She does stand-ups, and she did some cording. Well, I made some cording, but I was going to have to make the cording really long because this is pretty tall. It's about 10 inches tall. So in order to have the cording go all the way around here and then all the way around the bottom like Vanna shows, I was either going to have to do it in 2 pieces or I was going to have to really do a long piece. And the piece that I did really wasn't long enough. And I said, you know what? It really looks pretty good the way it is. So go check out Chrissy, Finally a Farm Girl, on YouTube and Etsy. I do have another fully finished. I did it as a finish a few weeks ago. And this is Lori Holt flea market baskets. And Fat Quarter Shop is doing a sew along all this year with the flea market baskets. This was really a fun stitch. The gingham was so easy and it was mindless, and I really had a good time just stitching on this. And then I did a pillow flap, and I did this one a little bit different. This one's not quilted right here, but it's quilted here and it's quilted there. And it's got the zipper in there. So I finished that one off, and it's got some gingham binding on there. So go check out Lori Holt's pattern. She's got some adorable cross stitch patterns as well as quilt patterns, and you'll see, because I'm really filled with the quilting this week. I want to tell y'all my favorite tool for this week. It's my music stand. Yes, a music stand. I've got some magnetic hooks right here, so I can hang my floss on there and my floss rings. I can hang them on there and it holds. It's pretty steady. And then some of my favorite things on here, this is a metal board, a large one, and I haven't seen any of these. I see the 8x10, but this one's much larger, and my husband, he painted it red for me because red is my favorite color. And this is just some needle minders that I have, and I have the line keepers, and I found this thing, and this is really cool, but I'll talk about this next week because that's my next favorite tool. So you have an insight of what that is, and I'll tell you what it does. So if you haven't thought about using a metal music stand to hold your patterns, you might ought to. It's not that big of an investment. It's about $40, and it fits right beside my chair, and I can hang other things from it. So it works really good. Now the back side isn't metal all the way. It's just the center that's metal, so you need some kind of board to put your pattern on so you can put the magnets and they'll stick. Now with time management, before I get on with the quilting, I want to speak a little bit about time management. I've had some people say, I don't see how you get everything that you get done. Well, I used to plan out my week. I used to know a week ahead of what I was going to do next week, my meals, etc. Then I got down to, I knew the day before what I was going to do. Now it's when I wake up and I see if we're going to stay home, what I want to accomplish for the day. So I'm less stressed that way because when I would plan out my week or plan out the day before, and if it didn't get done, I was a little stressed over it. So my family enjoys me more, I enjoy myself more, and it's more relaxed. But with quilting, I can get a lot done because I've been sewing for well over 50 years. I started sewing before I was 10 years old. The speed came. Then I went into working on a production line, setting sleeves and being a utility operator. I told you all that story. So I know how to set things up so I can get it done quickly. And later, when I went back to school in my 30s, I went into accounting, bookkeeping, that type of thing, because I was really fascinated with numbers, not so much algebra, but numbers would always calculate in my head. So that's why the quilting. That's pretty much when I started taking off with more quilting. I guess I was 25 when I made my first quilt, and it was just with fabrics that people had given me. So with time management, I am a two-handed stitcher because anything else just goes too slowly for me. So by having one hand on top, one hand on the bottom, then I get things done a whole lot quicker. Almost forgot, I have another finish to show you. And this is the Hometown Holiday Series. And this is Grandma's House. And this is stitched on 28 count Lugana. And I'm stitching 2 over 2. So I haven't decided what's going to go next. Grandma's House is probably going to go on every street that I make. So I used all the called for DMC. This kit came from Happy Little Stitch Shop. They kitted it up for me. And the fabric came from a dear sweet friend, a viewer, that sent it to me. So that is the finish. And then the first work in progress is my embroidery. This is my take along. And I can't take this out of the hoop. I cannot iron it because if I take it out of the hoop, I want to iron it. And if I iron it, all my designs will go away. So I made progress and I'm getting there. I finally put the cake in the window. The next work in progress is stitching with the Housewives. And this is July. This is the only one I didn't get done last year. Yeah, last week. Last year. And this is the progress I made on it. I had the top finished. And I'm just filling in the white at the bottom. And then I'll go back in and fill the colors. I'm hoping to have this done this week. But surely by the end of the month. So I can go ahead and get it mounted and put out for July. Let's get on to quilting. I wanted to jump on the bandwagon for Farmhouse Star by Holt. But I really didn't want to use my bee plaids in it because I wanted to save the bee plaids for the Autumn Love quilt. I want to start it later this year. So I've been collecting some of the fat quarter packs so I can work on Autumn Love. So here's the first block that I did, and I'm doing it in patriotic colors. I have plenty of scraps. This will be a Quilt of Valor. And so since I have plenty of scraps, I thought how neat it would be if I would make this into a Quilt of Valor. And I still have to do the blocks around the outside, and all I'm doing is machine stitching this down straight stitch. I'm just trying to make it as simple as possible, just so I can get it done as quickly as possible and use up some of the stuff that I have. And then here's the next block that I did. This is the 12-inch star. So I'm alternating some of the points being blue, some of them being red, and whenever I make the points a red, then the center's blue, and if I make the points blue, the center's red. So I'm trying to alternate it a little bit. Last week I showed you that I jumped on the bandwagon with the Great Granny Squared Along. And I chose to do the quilting. I do have the yarn, so I can do the yarn. And I have the cross stitch pattern, but can't do everything. I like to try sometimes, but you can't do everything. I got a couple of more things that I'm going to be starting. I'm going to show you in just a minute. So this is the one I showed you I did last week. Next one I chose to do is this one. And that one wasn't enough, so I made another one. And I really felt ambitious and did another one. So that's it with the Great Granny Square Along. And what I'm planning on doing with that is I'm going to make it a king size. So I'm just going to keep going and using my scraps, make it scrappy, and make it for my bed. And the back side, the backing, I'm going to make it solid white. I'll quilt it with white thread. So that to me will be a reversible quilt. So come Christmas, I don't have to make a Christmas quilt that's only going to be out for a short time. I can make a Christmas bed runner. The next project I jumped into, now I had a couple of blocks made, but I'll go ahead and show you so you can catch up. I joined in with the Vintage Christmas. Now, I got this kit from Happy Little Stitch Shop last year. I got it kind of late, so I really didn't get to start on it. But I'll show you some of the blocks that I did get done. I don't recall the names of these blocks, but it's in the book. But these are fun. They're 6 inches. I had made a big truck with Santa on the truck and said that I was going to make these to go under it, but I've decided I'm just going to turn that into a wall hanging and make the quilt as it's called for on the cover since I have everything. The bows kind of look intimidating, but I really don't think it's going to be that hard. Sometimes looks are deceiving. So I have 6 blocks done. And this week, I plan on getting some more done. Next thing that I got to work on It's the remix series. 2 more blocks came out Wednesday by Riley Blake. Lori Holt will be putting out the video tonight, but I went ahead and did them. Since they have the instructions given out on Wednesday with what we need, it wasn't hard to figure out, so I went ahead and did those. And they're sewed down. I've been getting quite a bit of sewing done this week. I'm just about caught up with on these remix series and the chickens. So then this one I showed you last week that needed to be stitched down, and I stitched it down. Then I finished up this one. I only had a flower and 2 leaves, I think, to hand sew down, but I got it done. Then I got busy on chicken salad. This one's all sewn down. This one I believe I showed you last week, but I needed to sew it down. And I may not have, but I went ahead and put the eyes on there since I finished stitching it down, and I'm gonna quilt it. I'm not gonna quilt right there where the eyes are anyway, and I'd rather go ahead and have them done. The one I'm working on this week, I believe this is Cornelius. And I'm just about finished stitching this one down, and then I have to embroider the little chick's legs, of course. I think I like this one best so far. I really love the colors. And I like the chicken wire background. Well, the only haul I have is for Be Happy. Here's what this quilt's gonna look like. And here's my kit. And it came from Happy Little Stitch Shop. There's a lot of fabric here, y'all. So, this one I'm getting ready to start, and I'm gonna start this week. Yes, another one. I also need to work on my Riley Blake RBD challenge because I'm a little bit behind in there, so I need to get those quilt tops done. I need to finish quilting the Sunbonnet Sue quilt. I have big plans, y'all. I don't know how I'm gonna find time to do everything, but it'll get done. Today, instead of reading from God's Word, I'm gonna give you the scripture and we're gonna talk about it a little bit. It's found in Luke 15:11 through 32. This is about the prodigal son. A parable that Jesus was speaking. It really makes us think because situations like this can really happen even today. Maybe not just like it was back then, but in different circumstances, but the same outcome. All right, this is about the prodigal son, where the younger son, he asked his dad for his inheritance that was due him. He wanted to go off on his own. Well, his dad went ahead and gave him his inheritance. The son took off and he squandered the money. It's just, he was frivolous. He didn't take account on anything that he was spending, anything that he was doing. He just did whatever and his money was gone. He didn't know what he was going to do. He went to work, working for someone, slopping the hogs, taking care of the pigs. And he barely scraped enough to eat, and he was going hungry. And so his thoughts wandered, and he was remembering how his dad always fed his servants well. They didn't lack for anything, especially food. And he got to thinking, you know, I would be better off if I went back home and worked for my dad rather than work for this stranger. At least I know I'll be clothed and fed. So he decided he was going to take off and go home. And when he was out in a far distance, his dad was out and he saw him. And he was elated. So when his son came, he says, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy to be your son. I've done foolishly. And he asked forgiveness. Of course, the dad, he just opened his arms and welcomed his son and told the servants, go and let's have a party. I forget what the animal was that they killed so that they could have a big meal and a party and music. And he was elated to have his son back. It didn't mean that he was going to get more from his dad. He was willing just to work for his dad. He didn't want anything from his dad. Then his older brother heard the music and everything and came to find out what was going on, and he was kind of angry about it. And it's like, here, I've been working for you all these years, and you have never thrown a party for me to share with my friends. And sometimes we forget about our children when they're around all the time. It's not that we don't love them, we appreciate them. It's just that I guess we forget to praise them. And we need to take more time to praise the children that are around. And when one comes home, it doesn't displace the older or the other children. It's just that, just like with God, when we walk away from him, we choose to turn our backs and go live life the way that we want to. And then, of course, we mess up. Everyone messes up sometime in their life or another. But then we come back and we get on our knees and we ask for forgiveness, and God's always there with open arms. He's not going to cause us to be any less of his child than the ones that haven't strayed. But I think one time or another, we have all turned our backs on God. I think we all fall short. All of us fall short. And we have to remember, God's just waiting there with his arms open. So share Christ with someone. Share how he means to you and what he does in your life. You never know who you might touch. And go and read about the prodigal son. And we had this Wednesday night at church, and when one of the young ladies was reading it, I started crying, because I can see situations in my life where something similar had occurred. And just the joy of knowing that God's there with his arms open wide and welcoming us. So take time out for God. Take time out to share his word. I want to thank y'all so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure being here with you. I wish that I could see you on the other side of the table. But I go and watch the other floss tubers so I can feel that I'm visiting them. But thank you again. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up, the subscribe, and God bless.